So I want to thank everybody coming tonight. This is the least we could do for two esteemed and I would say beloved faculty members that have given a lot to the department, to the University of Washington. Because he had the wisdom to hire both of these faculty members, I thought it would only be appropriate for Dr. Matson to introduce each one of them. I'm going to let Rick say a few words, and after that I'll have a few things to say. And just purely because it's alphabetical order, we're going to start with Dr. Eyre. So here's Dr. Matson.
So I want to take you back to the 1980s, and we thought that it would be a good idea to have basic science in our clinical department of Orthopaedics and Sports Medicine. So I went to the dean and I said, we would like to establish a position for a basic scientist in our department. And he said that basic scientists belong in basic science departments. So that sort of let the air out of my balloon there. And I was walking through the dean's office one day and I saw that there were a couple of endowed chairs, one for Wagner Williams and a few other people, 3 endowed chairs at that time. And I said, I wondered if we could possibly put together an endowed chair that would enable us to recruit a basic scientist of excellence to our department. And so with the help of Dr. Burgess and many of the people in this room, we were able to put together the first endowed chair in orthopedics and the fourth in the School of Medicine. And that led me to a trip out to Boston to meet with Dr. David Eyre at the Boston Children's Hospital. And all the buzz and excitement in that lab convinced me that he was the right basic scientist. And this was running a little bit against the grain because everybody knew at that time that the basic science of orthopedics was what we used to call bend-and-break biomechanics. And there seemed to be another opportunity here, which was to take a biological look at orthopedics and recognizing that collagen is common to all the connective tissues. It seemed very sensible to see if we could recruit someone who was the world's expert and still is the world's expert in collagen biology. And so it was a real thrill to bring David here. And as you know, he's had decades of NIH funding, a record matched by very, very few people in this country. He's received countless awards for his groundbreaking research and has recruited around him such an excellent group of scientists that have continued to propel his research forward. I'm probably the least qualified person to talk about his research, but just for the people who are not familiar with it, he has had a singular focus on trying to understand collagen biology and all of its different aspects, involving muscle, cartilage, tendon, and most particularly bone. And his approach has been, I think, unique. And one of the things he explained to me at one of our early encounters was we can use accidents of nature. In other words, genetic malformations that occur naturally to try to understand how genes control what collagen is made of and what it does. And so he used a lot of these accidents of nature, most particularly osteogenesis imperfecta, to try to understand how genes control collagen and bone formation. And he also used transgenic mice and knockout mice to explore the same sort of thing. I think his research is a model of singular focus. Ever since he's been here, it's been one direction, really a strong commitment to uncovering the mysteries of collagen, the most important tissue in our body, and it's been a real thrill watching how this program has grown and produced here as being the first basic sciences in our clinical department. So David, thank you so much for coming and for all your wonderful contributions. Would you like to?
In a couple of minutes. There's not a whole lot to add to that great summary of David's career, but a few facts and then personal observations. And just to put things in perspective, David, Dr. Eyre, has about 230 publications. He has over 40 years of continuous NIH funding, and to me, pardon the analogy, but that makes him sort of the Tom Brady of basic science. And it might even be better than that. I mean, it's something that is mind-boggling and hard to envision anybody else having a track record like that in the future. He has about 50 patents. Again, just sort of off the wall crazy. He was the inventor of the year in 2015 for the University of Washington. Again, if you think about the fact that that can go to anybody in the entire system, not just in the School of Medicine, it's a great honor. And some of my personal observations is that when I first got here, we always had this wonderful Tuesday morning research conference that really brought clinicians and scientists in the department and really throughout the School of Medicine together. And they were really great times. We would occasionally have people from overseas, from Japan, I remember, and then also Iceland. And it was just a great environment to be a young faculty member, whether you were a clinician or a basic scientist. I also remember that back in the day when I would go to all the Orthopaedic Research Society meetings, David and Sue would every year take any of us who were there out for these great dinners. And so he was really a fantastic role model for me at the time. And those will always be cherished memories for me. And so fortunately, we have him for a few more years. Not surprisingly, he still has a couple of really large NIH grants that are winding down. And I would say he's really going to be irreplaceable after that. And so with that, I'd like you to join me in congratulating David, and I'd like to welcome both he and Sue up there. So this is a plaque that we had made, and it says, in honor of 34 years of dedication to the academic research and educational missions of the Department of Orthopaedics and Sports Medicine. And then we have some gifts over here, but those are supposed to be opened up as a surprise at home, and some flowers for Sue. So,
thank you, Howard, and thank you, Rick, for those very kind words. I'd also like to say thank you to Pamela for putting this occasion up. She's a great event planner in orthopedics, as you know, and she does a terrific job, so thank you. I should also say Pamela took great efforts to pin me down for a date. Like many scientists, they don't retire, they tend to just fade away. Somebody else said that in another career. But thank you, Pamela, for pinning me down to the date. I'm delighted that she did, because it's very nice to be here to see lots of old friends and colleagues that go back a long time. I'll get back to that in a minute. But also, I want to focus on thanking a series of people. First, for Rick Maxson and Ted Hansen and the orthopedic community, who 35 years ago had the vision, as Rick told you, of creating a basic science chair, the Burgess chair, in the department. And I was fortunate enough to be the person that was chosen to fill that chair, which, as Rick again said, was unusual in most times, because engineers and more mechanical-minded scientists were coming into orthopedics. And if I have nothing else to say, is that I still feel that basic molecular science, and particularly genetics as things unfold, is still should be very much attractive to the orthopedic world in terms of forming a base for research. Let me talk a little bit about teamwork, because when I came here, and Sue and I came here with a young family 34 years ago, today, or close to today, it really was a big adventure for us as a family. And I think family life is very much part of the teamwork that it takes to be good scientists. And really, I think probably Rick and his colleagues, which is a much smaller department then, before Rick expanded it and made it into a very large, great department we have today. It was a surprise to them that I didn't just come myself. I actually brought a team. The team was important then. We had NIH funding, as Howard mentioned. It actually, for the last 34 years, we've been very fortunate enough, in my lab anyway, specifically as focused on collagen as we were, to actually receive funding from NIH for all that 34 years, and we brought grants with us. And to me, it's always been crucial that you have to have teams of strong scientists, as in any other endeavor in life. You know, I think as a department, teamwork's essential, but the department is a group of teams anyway. So whether you're a practicing orthopedic surgeon or whether you're a basic scientist at the bench, it's the teams that count. So actually, I'm very pleased today to actually see some members of the old team that came with us from Boston. Larry Chun over there, I think was one of the group of six that came with us from Boston. He's gone on to much greater things. Kurt Van Ness was with him. He was the foreguard of the lab that we brought from Boston. He came to do a higher degree in Seattle a couple of years before we came here. But they, and Steve Apone, who's next to him, he was one of the group of six that came from Boston when we came to set up basic science in the lab. And I think also, Rick mentioned that we focused on collagen, which essentially that's been a core of the work that we've done, but really it's sort of broad. We're more interested in skeletal diseases in general, osteoarthritis, osteoporosis, and expanded into genetic disorders that cause brittle bones. But without keeping that focus, I don't think we would have been successful in keeping NIH funding over that period of time. And that's going to be, it's still important for the future, and it's still a very important demand for basic research. So now we go to the present day. We've still got a small team in the lab, the same number of 6 people today. They're here. But I really want to focus particularly on one person and say thank you to her, and that's Marianne Weiss. She was the first hire that we had here when we came to Boston. She's still the linchpin and the mainstay of at least the Burgess Chair Lab that still does this collagen research and related research. So many thanks to Marianne and Rick's husband for the support over the years. I think that's enough, but I want to finish by thanking Sue for sticking by me. She thinks I should have retired about 20 years ago. In a sense, I've been practicing for the last probably 4 years of retiring. I'm beginning to do that fade away into the sunset. So thanks so much for all you've done. I forgot to mention James Wu, who actually he was the main scientist that was in the group that moved from Boston. So that's Sue. That's what a good wife I should
So hopefully when I'm retired or not around anymore, some of the people that I had the wisdom to recruit are going to be viewed as favorably as the people we're honoring tonight. And about 15 years ago, I still remember the debate we had in Wagner at our faculty retreat, and it had nothing to do with the qualifications of Dr. Wagner. It was all about whether we were going to open up the department to a great surgeon from the community. I would say that again, wisdom that Dr. Mattson had then he was chair, sort of foretold where we were going to go in the future, where academic departments have really become a little bit more of a mix for the better of people that are focusing on clinical work and teaching, people that are focused on clinical work and research, and then people that are focused on research. And so I'm sure Dr. Mattson can tell us a little bit about how that recruitment came to be.
So Ted was my chief resident at the Swedish hospital, and henceforth in the residency program, and I always followed behind him and enjoyed sort of living in his slipstream as he came through the program. And he was very free to give advice on do's and don'ts and how to succeed in the bewildering sometimes world of orthopedics. But let me just take you back a little bit. You probably know that Ted was a varsity rower in college. You probably know that he's internationally trained. He spent time in Montreal and then went to Hong Kong to learn spine surgery from the then leaders in the field, and doing invasive spine surgery, the sort of thing that's now routine by Dr. Craigle and many other people around, and brought those skills back along with Don Gunn and some others to Seattle, and really established Seattle as being one of the foremost spine centers around. And after a while, I think maybe Iris had a stronger influence over him than we might estimate, but she said, maybe it's time that you get out of this vigorous world of private practice in Swedish. Maybe you need to cool your jets and relax a little bit more and do some of the things you enjoy. So that led to a conversation in my backyard, and heading over, and remember this, Ted? We sat underneath the Douglas fir in the backyard, and he said, I would sort of like to give something back to the Department of Orthopaedics. And I wonder if there might be a place for me in the department. And I said, by all means, as Howard said, we sort of had to create a little special kind of slot because we've never had somebody exactly like Ted at that time, and haven't had anybody like Ted since. But it's been wonderful sort of creating this vision of a clinical faculty member who brought his many years of clinical expertise in spine surgery. In the meantime, Ted has continued to be the Renaissance guy that we always knew him to be. He is invested in preserving some important public land over the Methow Valley by being part of the Eyre Consortium that has forever protected that area from being developed into a downhill ski area. He travels regularly to Nepal and to Indonesia to do spine surgery there and many other countries. He really has an international heart to his makeup, and is more than willing to share his skills with people that would otherwise not have access to the qualities here. He's a philanthropist, always investing in noble causes, and has brought yet another endowed chair to the department. But the thing that I will always remember him for is the joy of working with him in clinic. And I've had the pleasure of sharing clinic days with him for many years now. And it's just so much fun having Ted around because he exemplifies the joy of orthopedics, and he gets so much fun talking to his patients and coming in. He said, look at this patient, it's so interesting, and they get catch up on his enthusiasm, and they know that he really loves them and cares for them in the best possible way. So he has many attributes, but his joy of orthopedic surgery is probably the one that I will treasure forever. Ted, thank you for all you've showed us and taught us, and we will never forget those lessons. Thank you so much.
Again, just to add some of my what will be wonderful memories of Ted. and also some facts about him. So you heard about Dr. Wagner's travels around the world a bit. He was the chairman for global outreach for the Scoliosis Research Society. Dr. Wagner won one of our really prestigious resident teaching awards in 2011. At some point he was co-chair for capital fundraising at Children's. And for 25 years, he and Iris hosted a unique citywide spine journal club on a monthly basis that brought together the academic spine surgeons and the spine surgeons in the community. And then, as Dr. Madsen mentioned, he and Alan Truer established the Wagner endowed chair in spinal disc regeneration. And as Dr. Madsen said, there's probably nobody with as much enthusiasm for medicine and orthopedics and maybe even life as Ted. And when you run into him in the hallway, you know it's going to be a long but fun, interesting conversation. And I would say the thing that I'm going to always remember about him is that he is just a dreamer. He has huge ideas, and they're always, best intended, basically to try to save the department, save orthopedics, save the world, essentially. And it's really an endearing quality that he's got to this point without the cynicism that I think is so easy to develop in modern medicine. And some of that has led to Ted traveling around the world, taking care of people who otherwise would never get the quality of spine surgery care that they get when he and the surgeons that he assembles for these mission trips take care of them. He's had a huge impact on some of our residents who I would say honestly didn't know that they had an interest in global aspects of healthcare until they were infected with that bug by Ted. He, in 2015, and in the newspaper article, it mentioned how old he was, although I'll keep that a secret, but at an age when I think most of us would have been happy to just be at home, kicking back and enjoying our retirement. Ted was one of the leaders of a group that went to Nepal, where he had many friends after they had that devastating earthquake. And he did that trip and a lot of other trips that I think it's fair to say involved a real element of personal risk. And going back to when he first got here, in the category of sort of big dreams, large and small, if you work at the University of Washington, you'll know that this was a huge dream. And I remember when Ted got here, and he would tell everybody that would listen that it was completely ridiculous that on an inpatient floor at the University of Washington Medical Center, we had rugs. And what a risk they were to patients for infection. And we would listen and we're like, right, you go figure out how to get the university to rip that out and put down new floors. But sure enough, probably, you'll remember, but probably within like a year or two of you getting there, they actually did the right thing. And I think like every floor in Montlake Tower basically had their carpets pulled out and had flooring put down. And again, it sounds like a small thing, but in a system like ours, it takes a lot of idealism and a lot of energy and a lot of wanting to do the right thing for your patients. And so again, Ted's big dreams, they've affected us locally and through the physicians that he's trained from around the world and the patients he's taken care of from around the world. He's had a local but also a global impact. I'm really going to miss him. I hope he continues to keep in touch with myself and the department. And I'd like to congratulate Ted on a remarkable long career and wish you and Iris the best in your retirement. honors, we welcome you. And we also have a plaque for Dr. Wagner that I'll read. It says, in honor of 15 years, and we know it's really much longer than that, but anyway, in honor of 15 years of dedication to the clinical and educational missions of the Department of Orthopaedics and Sports Medicine. Congratulations. Here we have honors.
Well, this is really some honor, and to follow David Eyre is a humbling event. As I look around this audience, I hardly know where to start, but I think I will start. Don't leave. I think that my life has been one of great joy, with great footsteps in front, great footsteps behind. And I think, as I was preparing to talk tonight, that it all began with my grandfather on my mother's side, who was a Norwegian. And I used to sit on his knee, and he left Norway when he was stayed at 14 on a sailboat that took him through the Suez Canal. And he ended up in South Africa. And his expression to me was always, if you feel the breeze, you gotta put up the sails. And over the years, I've sort of thought about that. Because I think all of us have ideas. We just have to act on them. And so it's been my theory that if I felt the breeze, I'd like to move and put up the sails. And I think that my career here at the University of Washington began in March of 1969, 50 years almost to the day. It's when I got a letter from Dr. D.K. Clausen accepting me into the residency. At that time, I was in Montreal and in general surgery. It just felt like the breeze was right. And I ended up doing it. That's how I ended up at the University of Washington and in the state of Washington. It's a great decision, and it's 50 years. I think a lot of things happened as we went along, because the residency was made up of 5 guys that year, and tonight Sam Baker, who was my classmate, is here. And so we went through the residency together. They let me out or pushed me out 6 months early. So I've always been registered with the next class, but in fact I was part of the 74 group. And that was an opportunity when the breezes again were blowing. And I got an opportunity to go to Hong Kong. The opportunity in Hong Kong really came because of Donald Gunn, who was part of the department here, who had invited Professor Arthur Yao from Hong Kong. Hong Kong at that time had a tuberculosis problem. It was a one-way train from China into Hong Kong. Every 100th person had active TB in Hong Kong. And a lot of it turned out to be Pott's disease, which was infection of the spine. And so the surgery for Pott's disease was really originated to a great extent in Hong Kong. So it was Iris, my wife, who said, I think we should take a tramp steamer to Hong Kong. That's an interesting breeze to the field. Anyway, we did, and took us about 2 weeks or 17 days to sail to Hong Kong by a tramp steamer, and I learned a lot about navigation and all sorts of things. But anyway, that was a great experience. So when I came back, that surgery really applied to tumor and infection and all the different things that we could use. So I was really given the chance to be a very active surgeon here in town. And then that developed at the same time as the world of spine surgery was really developed. So there are many people that are involved. But then, as I look at it, there were people behind me that were quickly coming along. And I want to really tonight make sure that Wally Kringle is mentioned because he was one of those people who was obviously very talented and came behind me. Chris Howe is here, who is now a surgeon at Valley, who was one of 4 fellows who went into spine surgery the year I came here to the university, which is now 15 years ago. And so as I think about all the things that have happened, it seems that if you feel the breeze and if your spouse feels the breeze, you ought to go do it. And I think if I had a message for everybody, that would be my message. I think it's great here to have my daughter Lara here, who's an ear doc, and to have my son Thor, who's infectious disease. And I think that that's been a big support. But the biggest support is my wife Iris, and she and I have sometimes felt the breeze individually, but we convince each other that it's coming from one direction to the other, and we ought to go do it. And so our plan now is to realize that Rick Mattson made all this happen. It all happened with actually phone calls when I didn't initially feel the breeze, but my wife and my kids said, I think you ought to go to the university and do that. That would be a great thing. So I thank them for going outside and feeling the breeze. And so here I am. I want to thank everybody, but I have 3 people that I need to thank. I need to let you know that Sarah Pretzel is my acting assistant secretary up at the university. I have, and I want to thank Pam Humber, who's always put on a party. And I think that if anyone wants to put a party on anywhere in the world, she is probably the person to do it. And finally, tonight we have a very special person here, who is Connie Lee, who has been my clinical assistant since I came back to the university. But I'll tell you a little secret about her. I operated on her scoliosis when she was age 13. So we've been great friends and patient, and most of the time she has no back pain. So I want to thank everybody and all the faculty and everybody who gave up an evening to come and be part of this. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Ted. And of course, I need to thank Pamela. She's great at arranging events, but she does a lot more than that. She is the public face of our department, and we couldn't do better. She keeps all of us in line, and well, you do. In a positive way, not in a bad way. Keeps all of us in line doing the right thing. That's what I was going to say. So thank you. I want to be respectful. I know this is a work night, and so everybody should feel free to eat a little bit more, get to give your regards to Doctors Wagner and Eyre, and Aaron will stick around and continue taking pictures for us for a while. So congratulations, if that's the appropriate word, to Ted and David. They both meant a lot to me, and I am really going to miss them. So best of luck. Thank you.